Hello again, I'm Charles Gross.
And I'm Leslie Hoban Blake. Welcome to Two on the Aisle. Our returning guest reviewer this evening is Charles Wright, the current co-president of the Drama Desk and a reviewer for offoffonline.com. Welcome back, Charles.
Good evening. It's good to see you two.
Yes, we're going to have to start a 5-timers club like Saturday Night Live.
But then you have to get him a jacket.
He's already got one. I'm the one who needs a jacket.
I see that, right?
But you've got a tie. I don't have a tie.
That's true. Well, but between the two of us, we're the well-dressed man.
I'm gonna leave now as you two discuss the Oresteia.
This is at the Park Avenue Armory, and it's the flip side of Hamlet. It's kind of the B-side, also directed by Robert Ickes. And let me tell you something. Piece of advice: if you go to see this, do not see Kite Runner in the same week, because these are two very, very intense productions. Yes, you can sit through a 3-hour show, but be forewarned, there's a lot happening here, and it is very gut-wrenching and very emotional.
You know, I think a lot of people will go thinking that they're going to see Aeschylus. It is advertised as Aeschylus / Ike, Robert Ike, Oresteia, but it's not. And I wonder what people who don't know the Oresteia trilogy, the 3 plays, Agamemnon, the Libation Bearers, and the Eumenides, what they make of it, because there is a lot that isn't explained. And in fact, the first act, which I thought was far and away the most powerful, concerns an event that is not actually enacted in the trilogy. It's the death, the sacrifice of Agamemnon's daughter Iphigenia. And in fact, a lot of the very little action happens on stage in Aeschylus, and in this production, in this version, everything does happen on stage. We see the sacrifice and the murders.
The story is that Agamemnon, Angus Wright, perceives that the gods have sent him a sign that in order to win this war against Troy, he needs to sacrifice his daughter. Now, we never see any of these signs, which I think if there's anything, it's 3.5 hours. How much more can you add? But I would have liked to have had a better idea of why he thought he had to do this. You know, it was basically, well, I've seen the signs. Well, we've seen the signs, and we think, you know, I would have liked a more firsthand experience on that.
Ickes has reset the story in the present, and so the very existence of a deity or deities is in question.
And yet he still feels he has to go through with it. One of the interesting features is there is a clock that we see that pops on and off on stage in real time. So when someone dies, they'll say time of death. And it was the actual time that evening. We see television interviews, you know, and a few other modern touches. There is some confusion. We think one of the characters, at least I did, is seeing a therapist, and then suddenly it morphs into a trial.
A sort of spine of Ike's version of the story is Orestes, Agamemnon's son, who avenges his father's murder.
The murder is by his mother.
That's correct. His Clytemnestra kills Agamemnon upon Agamemnon's return from the Trojan War, and Orestes, who had been sent away by his mother, has been, in this version, has been in therapy, trying to determine the root of his depression and his anxiety, and the colloquy, off and on colloquy between Orestes, the patient, and his doctor, goes on through most of the play right up until a trial, which takes place at the end.
I just want to take a shout out to Anastasia Hill, who plays the mother. I had seen her; she was the understudy for the mother in Hamlet, and I saw her in that, and she gave a decent performance. Here, I thought she was the dominating performer of the evening. Remember, she's in the middle of this whole thing. She's avenging her daughter, and then her son wants to avenge his father. So this poor lady is caught in the middle of everything, and it's such a powerful, such a nuanced performance. All in all, this was very long, and while I was very impressed with the way it was done, I'm not 100% sure I'd recommend it unless you are really into Greek tragedy. After the evening, I felt, oh God, please let the next show be the play that goes wrong.
I felt that the first act, which is an hour and 17 minutes, that was the most powerful, the most agonizing, and the most, it's really quite unnerving. I felt after that everything was pretty smooth sailing.
Well, yes, except that it goes on and it goes on, and then it's like about like 4 acts.
And there are those murders, yes.
I think the possible reason that you found the first act so intense, as did I, was we both have daughters, so
yeah. Well, it's a sacrifice to the gods, but at the same time, he is snuffing out the life of his little daughter.
Yeah.
Charles, you and I saw different performances, but we did see the same young actress as Iphigenia. Her name is Ilyana Faith Randolph. That role is played on some other nights by Alexis Rafe Forlenza.
She still comes on stage even after her death. It's a performance, and it makes the loss that I'm sure her mother feels all the more potent because we feel it.
She's very good as a ghost. Yes, you're right.
She is.
A specter.
How many playbills would you give this? 1 to 5, 5 being amazingly good, 1 being not for me?
Well, I'd say it has to be 3+.
Okay. I would say 3 3/4, but I warn you, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a very long and very bumpy ride.
And you see some wonderful acting. And if you see Hamlet as well, you get to see actors playing in some cases, very different roles.
It's like a record. You have the flip side.
Well, it's actually called repertory, and that's what the English are very well known for, but we don't do that very much here, if at all. Charlie, did you ever see the film Morning Becomes Electra with Rosalind Russell? It's Eugene O'Neill's take on the Oresteia, and he sets it in the Civil War.
I did think of Morning Becomes Electra in the after the second intermission, when Electra and Electra is Orestes' sister. The relationship between the two reminded me very much of the relationship of Lavinia, the Electra character in O'Neill, and Oren, the Orestes character.
And it's interesting that Ickes modernized both plays. He set them both in contemporary time.
He did, yes. And I think very effectively in both cases. More so perhaps in Hamlet.
And they're both revenge plays, aren't they, really?
They're plays about regicide. Mm-hmm. They are plays about a child's vengeance against the parent.
But I think one very significant difference here is that the first murder is as a sacrifice. Someone sacrificing not to seize power, not for himself, but for his people.
Thank you again, Charles. It's been lovely to have you again.
It's great fun being here with you. Thanks so much.
And when you go to the theater, look for us 2+1
on the aisle.